And sometimes it wouldn't read I was standing up because I'm short. And that just caused me more anxiety. So now we're done with that. Okay. Rings. What should we put on our ears today? Let's just do oval unrolled.
Now, on the west side of the state, the Ottawa County Sheriff confirms tonight that the deaths of a family of 8 are being investigated as a murder-suicide.
The husband suspected of killing his wife and 6 children, ranging in age from 5 to 15.
A family of 8, gone in one morning. And the man responsible for it was their own husband, their own father. This is the story of Amanda Karolkiewicz, known to everyone who loved her as Mandy, and her 6 children, who were killed inside their own home in Grand Haven Township, Michigan. And before we get into what happened, if this is your first time here, hit subscribe and tap that bell icon, because Shadow Crime covers cases like this one as they develop, and trust me, you don't want to miss where this story goes. Okay, let's get into it. It was a Friday morning, the kind of quiet, ordinary morning nobody remembers until something terrible happens on it. Firefighters got a call about smoke coming from a home on Riverside Trail. Just smoke. Nothing that screamed emergency at first. But when crews got inside to fight the fire, what they found wasn't a house that had caught fire by accident. It was a crime scene. 8 bodies. A mother, 6 children, and the father. Let that sink in for a second, because we're not talking about a house fire that turned tragic. We're talking about a family that was already gone before the flames even started. Mandy was 39 years old. If you'd met her, you probably would have liked her instantly. She was a substitute teacher in the local school district, and not just someone filling in for the day. People who knew her say she went above and beyond for her students, especially the ones having a hard day. She was recognized by her school as one of their standout substitutes just months before she died. She'd also written a children's book years earlier, and she was known as an advocate for kids with special needs. She loved her community. She shopped downtown. She took her kids to the local museum. She posted about her family online because she was proud of them and her kids, 6 of them, 4 were her biological children and 2 were adopted. We're not going to share their ages or their names in detail out of respect for them, but understand this. This was a full house, a loud house, a house with 6 kids running around, probably fighting over the TV remote, probably leaving shoes by the door. A real family. Just about a week before she died, Mandy had posted videos online from a trip she'd taken with 2 of her kids. A trip of a lifetime. She called it. She had no idea what was waiting for her. When she got home, her husband, Kristopher, was 47. He worked remotely for a national health organization in a role tied to CPR and first aid training. On the outside, from what neighbors and co-workers saw, this looked like a normal family. No police had ever been called to that home before. No criminal record. Nothing on paper that would tell you this family was in danger. But something was happening behind closed doors, and we're about to get into it. So let's talk about the timeline, because this is where things start feeling heavier. Investigators confirmed that everyone in that house died from gunshot wounds. Not smoke inhalation. Not fire. Gunshots. The manner of death for Mandy and her 6 children was officially ruled a homicide. Kristopher's death was ruled a suicide, meaning he killed his family, and then he turned the gun on himself. Now here's something that made this even harder for people to process. The fire wasn't the cause of what happened. It was what came after. Investigators believe Kristopher set fires in multiple places throughout the home, and he did it after the killings, not before. So this wasn't a fire that spiraled into tragedy. It was a cover-up, or maybe an attempt to erase what he'd just done. Even the family pets didn't make it out. They died from the fire and the smoke. Sit with that for a second, because that detail tells you something about the state of mind we're dealing with here. Now let's talk about what was happening in Kristopher's life leading up to this, because there's a piece here that a lot of people are pointing to. He had worked for this organization since 2023, but earlier that same month, just weeks before the killings, his employment there ended. The company hasn't said why. They've kept that private, which is their right, but the timing is impossible to ignore. A man loses his job, and weeks later, his entire family is dead. Was that the breaking point? We don't know yet. Investigators haven't confirmed a motive, and that's important for you to understand. because a lot of true crime content out there right now is filling in blanks with guesses. We're not going to do that here. We deal in what's confirmed. But here's what we do know. There was no prior history of police being called to that home. No domestic violence reports. No criminal record for Kristopher at all, on paper. And even from the outside looking in, this looked like a stable family. Neighbors were shocked. Friends were shocked. Even people who knew them well are struggling to make sense of it. In fact, Mandy's own cousin spoke out publicly and said the family is still asking why. Still trying to understand how something like this could happen with absolutely no warning signs that anyone on the outside could see. And that's usually the scariest part cases like this one, isn't it? It's not the ones where you can see it coming. It's the ones where everything looks fine right up until it isn't. So if losing his job wasn't enough to explain this, what was really going on inside that house? Because as it turns out, there may have been a lot more happening behind the scenes than anyone on the outside ever knew.
Now, on the west side of the state, the Ottawa County Sheriff confirms tonight that the deaths of a family of 8 are being investigated as a murder-suicide.
The husband suspected of killing his wife and 6 children, ranging in age from 5 to 15. Erica Erickson is here with us now. And Erica, this has left the community in total shock.
Oh, my goodness. Take a look at this family. Kimberly and Damon, so many in disbelief. Amanda, known as Mandy Karolkiewicz, and her 6 children, all killed. Her husband, Kristopher, is accused of shooting all of them before then turning the gun on himself. Her family says they simply cannot even express their devastation.
We treasured every moment we had with her and her 6 children, and words cannot adequately express our devastation. That's from the parents of 39-year-old Amanda Karolkiewicz, known to many as Mandy, the wife of 47-year-old Kristopher, and mother to 6, ranging from just 5 to 15 years old, 2 of their children adopted. The suspicious fire at their home on Riverside Trail in Grand Haven Township now being called a murder-suicide. Friday morning, calls coming in about smoke, but
they were unable to locate an actual house fire. Looked around the area and couldn't track it to a specific house.
A couple hours later, first responders trying to put out the fire, but finding the entire family dead. Investigators now say Chris shot and killed his wife and children before turning the gun on himself. Several fires found throughout the home. Police say intentionally set after the killings. Family pets also dying from fire and smoke.
I feel sick. I feel terrible. I feel that this should never happen to anybody.
Mandy's parents telling Local 4 that Mandy was, quote, a kind and devoted soul who loved her family and her students. Mandy, an author and active on social media, sharing family photos and videos of her travels like this one.
Okay, the girls and I are in Shanghai.
Also a teacher at Grand Haven Public Schools. The school saying earlier this year that Mandy, quote, goes above and beyond, responding with empathy, patience, and care, and pours her heart into her work. Mandy's parents saying, quote, we pray for God's peace and comfort as we grieve their deaths and honor their lives.
Okay, right now, Michigan State Police arson investigators are working to determine how exactly that fire started. Meanwhile, Mandy's family has created a donation page for legal expenses. They also say money left over will go toward a scholarship in the children's memory.
It's just absolutely heartbreaking story, no matter how you look at it.
It is.
Incredible.
And by the way, we have that information for that donation.
Now, this is the part of the story that changed everything for a lot of people following this case. Because after Mandy and her children were killed, something surfaced online that nobody expected. A Reddit account believed to belong to Mandy herself. Local journalists tracked it down and did the work to verify it. They matched details like her marriage timeline, her kids, her job, and where she lived, and it all lined up. This wasn't just some random account claiming to be her. It appears to genuinely have been Mandy, posting under the username MandyK1179. And most of these posts were written about 2 years before she died. So what did she say? In these posts, Mandy opened up about struggles inside her marriage. She talked about red flags she said she'd ignored for a long time. She described her husband as having grown up in what she called a toxic family dynamic, one that she said encouraged lying. And she talked about infidelity. She claimed he had cheated on her. And according to her posts, it wasn't the first time trust had been broken in that relationship. In one post, She wrote about how she met him when she was young, an intern at a company where he worked. He was older than her and already divorced at the time. Years later, according to her own words, history repeated itself. She said he was involved with another young intern, someone close to the same age she had been when they first met. Now here's the part that really sticks with people. Mandy wrote that she stayed, not because everything was perfect, but because of her kids. She said something like, leaving felt terrified with 6 children involved. She said she kept telling herself she loved her kids more than she hated her husband in that moment. She said she faked it until they made it, and that years later, things were in what she called a better place, even if it was still a daily fight to stay there. Think about that for a second. A woman, quietly working through pain most people around her probably never saw, choosing to stay and rebuild for the sake of her children. And now, years later, those same children are gone, along with her. We have to be honest with you here. These posts have not been confirmed by police as part of the official investigation. Investigators have not linked them directly to a motive. This is something journalists uncovered independently, and we're presenting it to you exactly as it was found, not as confirmed fact, but as something that adds context to who Mandy was and what she may have been carrying silently for years. So now the question becomes, did something finally break? Was there a moment, a conversation, a trigger that pushed things from painful to fatal? Because something happened in that house that nobody outside of it can fully explain yet.
We love them. We're going to miss them every day. We're proud of her. We're proud of them. We're proud of the things they did in their short lives.
How do you say goodbye to so many taken at once in such a horrific way? The family of 39-year-old Mandy Karolkiewicz and her 6 children left planning funerals, trying to hold on to every positive memory they can.
It's hard. It's hard. I miss her.
Just days after Mandy's husband since 2009, 47-year-old Kristopher Karolkiewicz shot and killed them all, set their Grand Haven Township home on fire, even killing their pets before taking his own life. The questions almost becoming unbearable.
Everybody wants to know why. None of it makes sense. It's unfathomable, and we need to know why.
Police not confirming a possible motive yet, but say they're working to. Meanwhile, the National American Heart Association tells Local 4 Chris's remote job as VP of Sales and Marketing ended just a month before the killings, as Mandy, a teacher and children's author, years prior had been sharing pieces of her life online. Local 4 independently confirming her Reddit profile. Mandy blogging about spending years trying to rebuild her marriage after her husband's dishonesty and affairs, allegedly writing in May of 2024, quote, "We have 6 kids, so the idea of leaving is insanely terrifying."
We may never know what her relationship was with her husband on a day-to-day basis.
Because those who knew and loved Mandy say she was incredibly private to others, always appearing optimistic and happy.
You never saw her sad. You never saw her upset. She just always looked on the bright side. She was bubbly. She was funny.
The mother of 6 loved her children above everything, even fulfilling a dream of adopting 2 daughters from China.
Mandy's lot in life was to be a mom. That's what she wanted, and those kids knew it.
Now this family hopes, despite no arrest or trial, police can give them some type of answers and tell them quite simply, why?
Make it make sense just a little bit, because it doesn't make sense.
Now, let's talk about what happened after, because the way this community responded says a lot about how deeply this tragedy hit home. Just 2 days after the fire, dozens of people gathered for a vigil at Duncan Woods. And here's something that really stood out. That vigil wasn't organized by adults. It was organized by students, kids who knew the Karolkiewicz children, kids who wanted to do something with their grief instead of just sitting with it. A local pastor led a prayer circle that night and told the students it was okay to feel angry. He said every emotion was welcome because that's what was going to help them get through it. Think about that. Teenagers organizing a vigil for classmates and a mother they looked up to because the adults hadn't gotten there yet. The school district stepped in too, offering support to students and staff who were struggling to process what happened. The superintendent called it a devastating loss for the entire community. And beyond the school, a national gun violence nonprofit stepped in to help cover funeral costs for all 8 family members. Family Friends also started a separate fund to create a scholarship in the children's memory so that even in loss, something from these kids could carry forward. And through all of this, one thing keeps coming up. Nobody saw this coming. Not the neighbors. Not the extended family. Mandy's own cousin spoke to local reporters and said the family is still asking why, still trying to make sense of something that, in her words, does not make sense. That's where this case sits right now. A confirmed murder-suicide. A father who ended his family's lives, and then his own. A job lost weeks before it happened. A mother who, according to her own words years earlier, stayed silently through pain to protect her kids. And a community left to grieve 8 people they thought they knew completely. But here's what we still don't know. We don't know what happened in that house in the moments before it happened. We don't know if there was a final conversation, a final argument, or if this was something he'd been planning quietly for longer than anyone realized. Investigators have not released an official motive. And until they do, we're only looking at pieces of a much bigger picture. So I want to ask you something. When someone shows no warning signs to the outside world, is that really true? Or are we just not trained to see the signs until it's too late? And when a parent chooses to stay in a painful marriage for the sake of their kids, does that protect them? Or does it sometimes put them in more danger than leaving ever would? Let me know what you think in the comments, because this is exactly the kind of conversation we need to have. If this case moved you, do me a favor. Subscribe to Shadow Crime. Tap that bell icon so you don't miss the next update. And share this video with someone who needs to see it. We'll keep following this story as new details come out. Until next time,